At this time, I'd like to welcome James Dickerson to the podcast. As I mentioned in an earlier segment, Jimmy joined me on a cruise of the Scarlett Lady from Virgin Voyages, and I thought we should get together and talk about what we thought about the ship. Um, on this first page here, you'll see some pictures of the external pictures of the ship. I thought it was a beautiful looking ship anyway.
It was a nice ship, Ryan. And to be fair, you did tell me the only way I could come on the cruise was if I did the podcast with you afterwards.
That is correct. That's right. And take your picture 100 times.
Yes. So thank you for having me on the boat, and thank you for having me here on the podcast today.
Thank you. And before we get started on going over some different things from the ship, I want to tell everybody, and his contact information will be down, is James is one of the premier real estate agents here in the greater Baltimore area, and now in Pennsylvania too, from what I understand. So
yep, licensed in Maryland and Pennsylvania. I don't go too far into Pennsylvania, but as close to Maryland as you can get, I'll be there.
All right, so we got on the ship. You can't see it because it's under our faces. We were boarding group 1. We got to Miami on a rainy day, and we went over to what was their temporary terminal. And we did a quick, really quick swab for COVID test. And then about 20 minutes later, we were headed onto the ship. So it was a pretty good day. Jimmy would like to tell you that, I got him up at 4 o'clock in the morning for no reason because we sat in a terminal, but that's a whole nother story.
Yes, we did do a lot of hurry up and waiting, Brian.
Yes.
Between traveling to the airport super early in the morning, and then when we got to Miami, we had a huge gap between when we got to Miami and when we could actually get on the boat. But it's better safe than sorry. You never know what's going to happen when you're traveling.
As I like to say, it's better to hurry up, wait, than hurry up and miss the boat. No, I just made that up. I just made that up right now. So we got on the ship, and luckily, unlike a lot of cruise lines, we were able to immediately go to our cabin and drop off our luggage. And this is a pretty good view of our cabin. As you can see, we had the bed split into 2 singles. Took a little bit of getting used to. Our room steward did create a wall between the 2 sections, so we weren't, head to head. But it's a little different than what you find on most cruise ships. They have a very minimal aesthetic to the room, and very modern. But I thought it was nice overall. The real selling point of the cabin is the balcony.
Yeah, I definitely really enjoyed the balcony. I think that, most cruise ships, you can split your 2 singles into 2 twin-size beds. And I did hear on the boat, I heard other people complaining about the beds, because the bed is essentially a sleeper sofa. Essentially that's what it is, right? Because during the day it's a sofa, and at nighttime it's a bed. And it's just got like a mattress topper on it. And I did hear some people on the boat complaining about the beds, but I personally didn't experience that. I didn't feel like they were uncomfortable at all.
Oh no, I thought it was comfortable. It was small, and it was just funky that we had to sleep. We either had to sleep head to head or feet to feet. The problem was we're both very tall, and we wouldn't be able to sleep feet to feet because my head would have been off the bed. So, and so would yours on the other side. Yeah, no, the room's fine. Everything is controlled by an iPad. The lighting, they have a bunch of different lighting controls. We'll get this out of the way right now. This Virgin Cruise Line is very cheeky, as they like to say. So there's some interesting.
I've been using the term risque when I explain it to other people.
I'm trying to use the British term. I think British cheeky is British for risque. So they had some mood lighting that was interesting, but the blinds on the door to the balcony automatically open and close by pushing a button. When we walked into the room, yeah, go ahead.
That's what I was just about to say. When you walk into the room, the lights turn on and the curtains open, which is a pretty cool, like, sort of welcoming feature that Virgin has sort of put in place on their boat.
Yeah, the other thing that is not shown in this picture, this picture of the room is a stock image because I really took all my pictures on the balcony. we had a chair in the room too, which was nice. So we could
Yes.
sit in the corner in a chair, and there was enough room for that chair even when the beds are split like this.
Yeah, to be fair, I think that chair in our cabin would have been
The other
sort of
one,
in
right?
the bottom right-hand corner of this image.
Right.
So, you wouldn't see it even if it was in this room.
Right. So yeah, so it was a fine room. Jimmy has only been on one other cruise, so I'll speak briefly about the bathroom. For a cruise ship bathroom, it was an okay size. It wasn't great, but the shower in particular was a good size, and it had a rainfall shower head and a wand, and a lot of pressure, water pressure. So that was nice. You don't always get that on a cruise ship. And the other picture there is one of the pictures of our last sunset on our last day on the ship. And then
And
you
a
see,
marvelous photo of my feet.
yeah, well, it really is a good shot of using that hammock and overlooking the water. So I've never seen a hammock at sea. It was very nice. And I did not get in it because I would not be able to get out of it. But Jimmy spent some good amount of time in it and didn't fall into the water. So it all worked out.
It was actually kind of interesting. You don't feel the boat. Personally, I didn't feel the boat rock very much. I didn't feel the boat moving all that often. But when you lay in the hammock, it moves just enough to sort of sway the hammock at just like the perfect amount. You know what I mean?
Right.
It really is, like Brian said, you don't see it very often on cruise ships, but it is a really cool feature because you're being naturally rocked to sleep by the ocean. So, which is a cool experience.
Yeah, very cool. I mean, I think a lot of people that we talked to on the ship loved the hammock. Absolutely thought the hammock was outstanding, the best part of the room. The room was fine. I don't know if you had to get any work done, that little desk area was enough to do it on. But it served its purpose. And quite frankly, as you know, I'm sure Jimmy would agree, we spend so little time in the room, it didn't really matter. So quick.
Yeah, not
Yeah.
to mention the fact that there was out in the ship, there were people who were working sort of in like lounge areas that they had like in the coffee bar area, they had like workplace areas that people were coming in, sort of like co-working space.
Right.
That people were working in. So nobody was working in their room either. They were sort of out and about doing it.
Yeah. I'll save this mainly for the vibe at the end, but there was plenty of places to plug in and charge your devices, and they had lots of plugs and lots of USB ports on the ship.
And frankly, the Wi-Fi was phenomenal.
Yes, the Wi-Fi was so good I could actually watch video. I could watch actual TV on it. So when before I would go to bed, I would want to unwind and watch the local news, so I could watch the Baltimore news on my phone with no problem. I've never been able to watch video on a cruise ship before, even paying for the premium Wi-Fi.
Yeah.
All right, so let's move to one of the two, as far as I'm concerned, the two biggest highlights of this ship for me were the service, which we'll talk about at the end under general vibes, and the food. So I broke it down. We're going to talk quite a bit about the food into two separate sections. They have a bunch of quick service dining, and then your table service. So for those who are unaware, on Virgin Cruise Line, Virgin Voyages, excuse me, all your food is included, all of it. There are some upcharge, dishes, like seafood platters and things like that. But for the most part, all of your food's included, and all of what they call your basic bevs are included. So soda, water, tea, plain coffee, those are all included. So they have no main dining room. So when we talk about table service, we're going to talk about, all the places that you could go eat dinner at. But the other big difference here, and there's some pictures here of it, is the galley. The galley replaces what would be a buffet on most cruise lines. For now, it's like a food kitchen, but for now you sit and they will take your order and bring you the food. You don't go up to the places and get your own food. And I have to tell you, it was some of the most outstanding food on a cruise ship I've ever had.
Yeah, I think that the best example I can give of what this is like a gourmet food court. That's kind of the vibe that you had. Like there were individual stations for individual types of food, and all of the food was head and shoulders above even like regular resort food. You know, if you were to stay in an all inclusive, or like Brian said, I've only been on one other cruise, but the last cruise ship I was on, that food felt like a level above like fast food. You know what I mean? Like it's kind of how that food buffet food
Right.
felt. And this food was head and shoulders above that. I mean, they had fresh sushi, they had fresh vegetables, fresh fruit constantly. Brian has a picture of shrimp here. There was shrimp abound in the cruise ship. So
Yes. And I had, and I tried all kinds of things I never had before. In the galley, I had some ramen. Never had ramen, fresh ramen. I've eaten tons of noodles in my day, but this was a very different experience. Burgers, the desserts, the sweet side here that they show, absolutely amazing and beautiful desserts. I really honestly, I could have done 20 slides of just pictures of all the food. The other great place, and there's a few that I really liked, was the dock side. I believe that was the name of it. Was an outdoor area for lunch from like 11 to 6. They served these small plates. You see a little hummus. Actually, it was baba ganoush there and vegetables, and then the shrimp skewers. They had steak skewers. They had a great chicken thighs and eggplant dish, all included. And you could sit there and look out the back of the boat. They had some beds you could sit in. They had some tables. They had some better seating for those of us who don't like to get down on the ground anymore to sit. So I think, Jimmy, that was my favorite place to go, just and do nothing.
yeah, it was really a nice space because it was partially covered, so you weren't in direct sun the whole time. But it was outside, and it always seemed to have a good breeze. So it was a place that you could sort of lounge, not be out in the sun, direct sunlight, and still have food and drinks and all of that stuff available. And it was a great gathering place that was never crowded either. I don't think I went once there that it was very crowded.
No, no. I mean, well, the ship, we'll talk about that during these COVID times, holds 2,700 people. And I think we sailed with around 700 on the ship. But there was plenty of seating here. So if there would have been twice as many people on the ship, there still would have been lots of room. There's an inside version of this the dock side. But it really wasn't open because they didn't need to have it open because it wasn't that crowded. They also have hot dogs available. They call them gourmet hot dogs at another location inside. It looks like a 50s diner, and they have hot dogs and they have milkshakes and boozy milkshakes. I did not partake in the boozy milkshakes, but we'll talk about the alcohol and lounges in just a minute. But Jimmy, got anything else to add here before I move on to table service?
No, I did want to mention, are we talking about bars later?
Yes.
Okay, then we'll talk about that later.
Okay. Oops. Then there was table service dining. And Jimmy, I kid you not, there had to be, we didn't even get to every restaurant. I double dipped one night just so I could get pictures of the Italian place. But on a four night cruise, we did not really make it to every single table service dining. The first night, we went to Gunby, if I'm saying that correctly, which is
Gunbay.
Gunbay, which is a Korean barbecue place. Outstanding. I'll let you talk more about it because you're more familiar with this food, but I enjoyed it immensely.
Yeah, so for those of you who may have been to Korean barbecue before, where you have the grill in the center of your table, it was basically the same thing, but they had electric grills instead of flame grills because we're on a boat and we're not trying to burn it down. And you get seated. Same thing as like a Korean barbecue restaurant or like a hibachi restaurant. You get seated with other people who aren't necessarily in your party. But one of the really cool things that they did in this environment was that they had like table games that they got everybody involved in playing. So you got to meet and know some of the people you were sitting with through those table games. But like Brian said, the food was fantastic, and they had things that I had never had before from Korean barbecue, like a kimchi stew that was like next level. I'm looking for that anywhere around me. So if you know where I can get kimchi stew, let me know.
Yeah, absolutely outstanding. That was a real highlight and kickoff to our night. We were seated with other people, very friendly. Another couple, not a couple, and outstanding. Then we went to the steakhouse, the name of which just all of a sudden fell out of my head, and I mean, so we had service. This is the one night we had a little bit of a service issue. Still feel like they're training people, but the food was good. I wouldn't say it was the greatest steakhouse I ever went to. That chowder though was outstanding, and I think the lamb chops were pretty good too. I put those two pictures on here as well. I thought they were pretty good. Any thoughts on the steakhouse?
I think that, like Brian said, that was in my opinion, the most disappointing meal that we had during the ship. Both from sort of a food quality perspective, the menu selection was awesome. The menu items they were serving sounded great. But I think a lot of us had a really poor experience from because Brian and I met some people on the boat and we went in a group, had a pretty poor experience from an ordering perspective. And then a lot of our orders came out probably not the way we ordered them. Like steaks were more rare than they were supposed to be, or overcooked, or so on and so forth, which just made it a less enjoyable experience. But I think in theory and based on what we heard from other people who went to that restaurant, they loved it.
Right.
I think that may have just been our individual experience in that restaurant.
Yeah, and here's the other good thing about the steakhouse on any ship is one of the more popular dining locations. And on any other ship, it's an upcharge. And you're limited to one entree. Usually, you can sometimes get away with one or two appetizers. But here, the guy was like, order all you want. We could have ordered.
It was called the Wake.
The Wake. Thank you.
Yeah, I did a little quick Google search.
Thank you. But they you do not lack for food. It actually got to one point, and Jimmy will tell you, I am one of the biggest steak lovers in the world, but on the ship there was so much steak and so much seafood. At the end of the ship, I was like, no more steak. Of course, then we went to a steakhouse, but that's a whole other story for another podcast. But it wasn't bad. It was just the service that one night was bad. We went back there the next day for breakfast or brunch, and I got steak and eggs, and it was perfectly cooked. So I just think we hit a rough patch that night. We then tried. I'm going to mess up this name, being from East Baltimore. Pink agave. So close. At a Mexican restaurant, we did get the upcharged seafood platter, and when we both ordered it, the server, who was very friendly, was like, "Are you sure?" We're like, "Yeah." James, have you ever seen so much seafood?
Never once.
It was insane. The platter was the size of two of my heads. It had lobster and shrimp, and we just couldn't eat it all. They also had some outstanding appetizers. Again, the service was outstanding. Everything about it was great. And on the fourth night, yes,
I want to mention real quick about the Mexican restaurant is that, first of all, I had a drink at the Mexican restaurant, that tequila old fashioned. That was the best drink I had on the whole boat. So I want to make sure I mention that. But also, I'm somebody who tends to like spicier food. Like I tend to, go lean to the spicier side of food. The Pink Agave restaurant was too spicy for me, in my opinion. Now, I've seen on sort of message boards and other things that I'm a part of about this ship specifically, that other people felt like it wasn't spicy enough. So I'm wondering if it's menu item to menu item, because specifically what was too spicy for me was that seafood platter we ordered.
Yes.
So I don't know if it's specific to that seafood platter, which was the upcharge, but I think that for those of you who, might not prefer spicy food, I would be cautious about what you order from Pink Agave. I think you should still go. I think you should still order. I think there are options available. Just be cautious about what you order, because it might be too spicy for you.
Is this the place we got the tuna tartare? Some sort of,
I genuinely can't remember, Brian. There was so much food that was eaten.
I can't remember either, but that was pretty good. And I don't usually eat raw anything, but I thought that was pretty good. On our final night at sea, we went to the test kitchen, and I am not the most adventurous eater in the world. I think I did a pretty good job of trying things on this cruise. My wife was surprised when she saw a picture of me with peas, but not normally my thing. The service here, again, outstanding. So a quick overview at the test kitchen. It's a 5-course meal, maybe 7.
I think it was 6.
6 course. Yeah. So, and they're title things like mushroom, and then egg, shrimp. Then there was a beef entree, a cheese entree, and dessert. Right? Did I get them all?
Something like that. Yeah.
And they explain to you what you get, and you can add on either an alcoholic or a non-alcoholic drink package to go with each course. So if you are an adventurous eater, the food was good. I'm sure Jimmy will say the food was great. He's going to talk in a second. But for me, as a non-adventurous eater or slightly adventurous eater, I couldn't. I took I tried everything, but I didn't eat other than my steak. I don't think, and the dessert, which was crazy good. I don't know that this was really for me.
Yeah. So they had a wine, beer, cocktail, and mocktail pairing options. So you could pick, if you're a beer person, they had beer pairings, wine pairings, cocktail pairings, and non-alcoholic mocktail pairings. And I did the cocktail pairing, and Brian did the mocktail pairing. And both of us anyway, thought that our pairings were very good. I will tell you, the cocktail pairings were very strong. Like all of them were sort of like old-fashioned martini, mojito style pairings. So they were very liquor forward, which for me was great. But if you're somebody who isn't a big drinker, it might be a lot over 6 courses because you're getting 6 cocktails. Like Brian said, personally, I'm a very adventurous eater. I love food in general. I like trying things I've never had before. And I thought all the food from Test Kitchen was fantastic. I really enjoyed every single course that I had. The beef course was actually venison, but they had a beef offering if you didn't want venison. So Brian had the beef and I had the venison, and the venison was phenomenal.
Yeah, the beef was good too. Again, my thing was, as you see, there's a picture of one of ours. They look the same. That blood spatter, not really blood, it's beet juice. Not my thing. And the steak was covered the bottom in beet juice. But the steak itself was tender and delicious. Just not my flavor palette. So after this meal, I went over to the Italian place, Extra Virgin, and got a meal there too. As you can see, some of the things I got a charcuterie board, outstanding. Jimmy will tell you, I got the charcuterie board in every way it comes on the ship. You can get the charcuterie board at Extra Virgin. That's this one here. You can get one in room service, which we'll touch briefly on room service in a minute. And you can also get it. There's cold cases around the ship, outside of different food areas, and they have them there too. You have to get them quick because they go fast. They're almost all the same. I did notice on the one that on the grab and go version, instead of toast, they had like bread sticks in it. But other than that, it's pretty much the same thing. Outstanding. I got calamari. If you would have asked me a month ago, I would tell you I would never eat calamari. I tried this calamari, loved it. I am now a calamari fan. And then I also got, and I did not put the picture here, their one of their pasta dishes, and I didn't eat I didn't eat all of any of it because I had 3/4 of a meal earlier. But again, the food was outstanding. The service was outstanding. They brought me bread. I said, please, I'm not going to eat the bread. I don't want to waste food. And they're like, sir, it's the last night of the cruise. What we don't eat gets thrown away anyway. So I'm going to sit it here. If you decide you want to have a piece, have a piece. They kept wanting me to order more and more food. But I was at that point pretty full. Jimmy, before I move on, just want to touch base on room service. So I don't know that I've ever done room service on a cruise ship before, but they had 24-hour room service. All of the food on the menu was free. You could also get cans of soda for free. They did also offer alcoholic beverages at a cost. There was a $5 room service delivery fee if you bought any item. So if you bought a Red Bull was not included. So Red Bulls were $5. If you bought a Red Bull, then there was no delivery fee. So they didn't double dip you on that. I every night got room service at some point. At one time it was 2:30 in the morning, for no other reason than to get like 4 or 5, 3, 4 or 5 Diet Cokes delivered to room. So there was always some soda in the room for free. But I also tried all the things, the charcuterie. I tried some soup. I tried a pasta dish. And then we got those desserts delivered, those cake pops, one night, and they were really, really good too. I don't think Jimmy really partaked too much in the room service, but let's see if he has anything to add.
I did not order any room service. I did watch you eat a lot of room service, but I did not order any room service. I think that one thing that's to be mentioned about this boat is that I don't think I was hungry at any moment. Like you were never further than 5 feet away from some place that you could eat something that was included on the boat. I mean, are we going to talk about the ice cream shop?
On the Vibe section, but we could bring it up here. Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, there was hand scooped ice cream, which is a difference than most cruise ships, which serve you soft serve, in what I believe were like house-made waffle cones
and flavored.
Yeah, like there was red velvet and chocolate and regular waffle cones, and the ice cream was all fantastic. It was all, I think, made on the boat. I think they were making that ice cream on the boat. I don't know that for sure, but that's what it tasted like.
Right.
The pizza shop,
Yes.
that was like a quick service pizza shop, kind of reminded you of like a diner style pizza shop. And then what else would I want to mention?
Yeah, the pizza, I will tell you, the pizza might have been the best cruise ship pizza I've ever had.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not saying it was the world's best pizza, but it was very good.
Yeah. And then of course we talked about the 50s diner style restaurant, the boozy milkshakes. The boozy milkshakes were strong, but they were delicious. But we were just never anywhere. You didn't have an opportunity to be hungry.
No, not at all. So here we are at lounges and bars. It's a good segue. Not only were you never hungry, you're never thirsty. And I don't think they knew how. And I don't drink a lot of alcohol, but I did, for research purposes only, tried a couple of things alcoholic, and they weren't lacking for alcohol in them.
No,
there was no weak drinks on this cruise ship. I don't think Richard Branson would allow a weak drink, but yeah, they were very good. I'll let you talk more, but they have all kinds of different bars. The place that serves the hot dogs in the diner setting is really a bar. Connected to that bar is a pirate themed bar. There's a draft house bar. There's a champagne lounge. And then every place you can get food has a bar. That dockside also has a bar attached to it. The pizza place had beer on tap, I believe.
They had canned beer, not on tap, but canned beer. Yeah.
Yeah. So, Jimmy, this is really your area of expertise as a connoisseur of fine alcohol.
Well, I think that the first thing I want to mention is, Brian's mentioned that I've only been on 2 cruises, this cruise and the other cruise I went on was open bar. But from what I hear, cruises charge a significant amount of money more for their drinks, meaning like drinks are much more expensive on the boat than they would be at your like local bar. I can tell you that from my experience on this ship, it was no more expensive for a drink on this ship than it is at your local bar. I mean, it's not dollar beers. You're not getting a dollar beer from the local club, but your regular going out to a nice bar drink price, that's what you're paying on this boat. They're not overcharging you. It's perfectly reasonable. And in the specialty restaurants, they had specialty drinks, and those specialty drinks were more expensive, but they were top shelf liquor and top shelf drinks. So it would be the same as if you went to a really fancy restaurant and ordered a drink. It's going to cost a lot more than your local bar would charge. At no point did I feel like the drinks were overpriced, but like Brian said, they weren't watered down either, no. Which is something that I can say from my previous cruise experience. That bar was open. That ship was open bar. The alcohol was included, and you could tell by the quality of drinks that the alcohol was included. That was not the case on this ship.
Yeah. So for those who don't know, Virgin does not offer a drink package. But you can, for every $300 that you put on a prepaid bar bill, they'll give you normally $50 right now as of this taping on February 22nd, 2022. It's $100.
It's Tuesday.
Yes, on Tuesday. You get 100 for every 300 you put in. If you put in 600, you get 200. But the prices are really good. It's, I think the average cost is, I would say $10. I mean, probably with some, do you think it was less or more?
$6.50 was the cost of a margarita on the boat, which is a totally normal price for a margarita.
Yeah, no, that margarita on other cruise lines would probably be $12, $15. So
yep.
Yeah, it was outstanding. So the first few things we talked about, lounges and bars and the food and the service, me and James agree 100% outstanding. Now we're going to get into what I call the generational differences on the ship and what we thought. Would you agree?
I don't know what you're going to say, so yeah,
maybe. So
you know what I should have made for this? I should have made myself one of those tequila old fashions for this taping,
there you go.
Because I bought all the ingredients when I got home.
All right, so the next topic is entertainment and things to do on the ship. And so if you are a person who so Virgin Voyages on purpose wants it to be a cruise for non-cruise lovers, right? But if you are a cruise lover, you'll notice some big differences, especially in the entertainment realm. And those things are, there's not a lot of activities if you like cruise kind of things. They don't have a lot of game shows or a lot of trivia, things like that. They did have bingo one day. It was drag queen bingo. It was fun. There's two main places that they have shows at, the Red Room and the Manor. We spent more time at the Manor. The Manor has things more like there was the Diva, who was a drag queen show. They have a Never Sleep Alone show. They have a couple more things like that. And they are cheeky or risque, depending on, what continent you reside on. I thought they were fun. This is an adults only cruise line, so there is no kids, and they don't worry about it, obviously. So they go full force cheeky. We saw one of the shows in the Red Room, and that was basically a modern dance choreography show that I forget the name of it, but it was basically Romeo and Juliet. It was interesting. It kept my attention.
It was Cirque du Soleil-esque.
Yes. Yeah. And then there's a casino. I spent a lot more time in the casino than James did. It's a good casino. It could use a more variety of games on it. From what I found out at the end of the cruise is that there's no video poker out in the casino, but there is video poker in the smoking lounge. That's another great thing about this casino is it's smoke free, which was very nice. Table games, and there was some bands. There was a band that played in one lounge a lot. James, you remember the name of that lounge?
On the Rocks.
On the Rocks. So we saw this guy the first night. Very interesting. The picture there in the corner. I don't know how to explain it, but he was very good. Then there was a full band later on in the cruise as well. Our group really enjoyed that band a lot. Yeah, so I would say the entertainment and activities, I'm only going to give it like a 6 out of 10 if I had to, only because I think they do need some more activities that don't revolve around exercise, tons of exercise activities, exercise, drinking, or gambling. That's the 3 things. If you want to do anything else, like I said, like trivia or game shows or anything like that, they need more of that, in my opinion.
I'm actually going to agree with your rating, Brian, but I'm going to say, but I think that I didn't mind the quantity of entertainment options, but I also enjoy a more leisurely vacation. So I like, sort of having my day to sort of relax and do what I want to do, lounge by a pool, or, sleep in if I want to, or, whatever I might want to do that day. And this was a shorter cruise. We only had 1 day at sea.
Right.
The rest of the time we were in port, and we had activities off the boat the whole day. So I didn't mind the quantity of activities. I think that I mentioned this before, and I'll say if Brian's probably tired of me saying it, but Virgin has this reliance, the way they've designed their cruise line, it's very reliant on the vibe, and we're going to talk about vibe later, I understand that, but it's reliant on the vibe created by the people on the boat. So all of the stuff that they plan is based on like how everybody else is going to interact with each other during those events. Everything is very interactive. And when you're on a boat that holds 2,700 people and there's only 700 people on the boat, it feels sort of empty. And some of those moments where there was supposed to be a vibe, like in the nightclub or at the pool party or at the pajama party, there weren't enough people to create that vibe that Virgin was really trying to go for. I think all the shows were great. I enjoyed all the shows. I can see how some people might not be ready for the level of risque that Brian and I are alluding to as part of some of these shows. But I thought they were all very enjoyable. I did think that there wasn't enough music. My previous cruise was not a Virgin Cruise Line, and I felt like there was way more music options on that boat than there was on this one. And you would think it being a Virgin ship, there'd be more music.
Yeah, I think part of that is I think there was more music than we realized because they didn't publicize it. There was no communicate. Like there would just be a band popping up someplace on the ship, and you wouldn't know. You would find out later.
There were only 3 bands on the boat. It was this guy,
right,
the band that we watched, and then the Virgin Cruise Line band, which was like the house band.
Gotcha.
And we saw all 3 at one point or another. But the problem is that this gentleman and the other band played the same set every time.
Right.
Which would be fine if there was more music options. But when you end up seeing the same group twice in your cruise, you don't want to hear the same set twice in your cruise.
Right. Absolutely.
In addition to that, what I thought was interesting is that something that I think Virgin kind of missed the boat on is they had individual karaoke rooms, but there was no karaoke bar.
Right.
Which seems like something that would be very on brand for the ship, to have sort of a karaoke night or a karaoke bar where people could do karaoke together as opposed to reserving a private room. Because when you think about it, you reserve a private room for karaoke, you must have a really big group with you. or it's like you and your one other person on the boat, in a private karaoke room together. I think that was a missed opportunity.
Absolutely. All right, I'm going to move on. And we've had two islands that we stopped at. The first one was Nassau. Me and Jimmy did not take a Virgin excursion. We walked 5 minutes from the cruise port, maybe 10. They said 5. I didn't really time it. But
it was definitely more than 5.
But it wasn't long. It was walkable to the brand new Margarita Beach Resort that they built. And we bought a day pass for the Fins Up Water Park. I found this to be an outstanding value. It was like $65 with tax. And they had a lazy river. They had some slides. They had a beautiful infinity pool you had to walk up to on a roof deck, and a hot tub up there. That was adults only. The food was, we ate at the bar. I thought that food was pretty good there. And then I don't have pictures here, but I also took a tour of the actual resort for 20 minutes. And it's gorgeous. I would actually go here. I was telling Jimmy that I'm thinking about taking my wife here for like a long weekend, a Friday through a Monday, just to this resort in Nassau. It was very nice.
I really enjoyed this day. This day was a great day. You had a beach that wasn't private, it was a public beach, but it was, the resort had chairs out that you could use, but it was a public beach. You had the water park and what Brian called a lazy river, I'm going to call a not so lazy river, because it wasn't very lazy. It was a pretty fast moving lazy river with waterfalls that poured water on you and
everywhere. Yes.
Right. It was really enjoyable. There were a couple water slides that were all very fun. And there was also a cliff jump. If you noticed that or not, Brian, but there was a cliff jump on the backside of the water slides, which had an 11-foot pool underneath that you could jump off the cliff into the cliff jump pool, which was really fun. And then upstairs, the infinity pool was heated. And so was the hot tub, obviously, because it's a hot tub. So I thoroughly enjoyed that. That was a great way to spend the day. The only thing I would have liked to have had would have been like umbrellas or canopies as an option,
right.
Which I did not see as an option on the boat. On the beach. But right. Other than that, it was a great experience.
Yeah, there was umbrellas available around the pools.
Yes.
I put those up a couple times. Yeah, I had a great day. I would definitely do this again. Me and my wife are going on our 25th anniversary cruise on a different cruise line. We are also stopping in Nassau, and this is what I think we're going to do. We're going to go here as well. So I'll leave it at that.
I don't know if you want to talk about it or not, Brian, but the walk from the cruise ship to the resort.
Yeah. So, and this is not untypical. If you've been to Nassau or any of these island nations, you will be hounded from the minute you get out of the cruise terminal until you get to your destination to buy things and to rent things. And it is not fun if you're a guy like me who has a hard time saying no. But on my way back, I just plowed through them and was like, no. It's a bit much. It'd be nice if they could clean it up a little bit. But I also think those people are just trying to make a living too. Yeah, that was the only unenjoyable part of this day, the walk to and from.
Yeah, I think that, as this resort's new, wouldn't be surprised if as this resort grew, they didn't start offering a cruise excursion to their resort.
Right.
At which point, you'd have transportation. But, even though it's only 5 minutes, I don't necessarily think it would be a terrible idea to get a cab or some sort of ground transportation from the boat to this resort just to avoid sort of the headache. I mean, I would have paid $10 extra for that. I don't know what it would actually cost, but I'd have paid $10 for that.
Yeah. So, and let me add about the cost too. The cost is good. And when you're trying to get a lot of people, if you know, Atlantis is the big draw, same kind of thing. You can buy a day pass and go to their water park, which is much bigger, but it's also $190 a person. And this was like $60. So Depends on what you want to do. They don't have aquariums here and things like that, but I thought it was a really, really good deal for the money.
Yeah, I think that it was very well priced. I wonder if the price will stay that way as the resort grows.
Well, they actually did lower it when we first started looking at this. It was like $119, but came with food. So they dropped it to 60 and dropped the food, but we still spent less than 119 even with the food we bought.
I think that honestly, one of the things I regret is buying food at Margaritaville. Not that there was anything wrong with the food,
right?
But I could have probably gone without it and eaten again when I got on the boat.
Yeah, absolutely.
but the food was good at the resort. I enjoyed what I ate there. So.
Yep. Oh no, the food was good. Right, but yeah, it wasn't necessary. Plenty of things to eat on the ship. All righty. Why does I keep doing that? Then the next day we went to Bimini, and here we did do some excursions that were offered by Virgin. I did a cultural tour of Bimini, and James did a snorkeling with sharks. And then they also have their own private beach, which is the picture up there on the top with the red and gray umbrellas. That's the pool there. Very big pool. The opposite of what's on the ship. The ship pool is not huge. It's okay size, but this was a huge, huge pool and a huge beach area. And they had food there as well. We'll get to all that. But I'll talk about my tour, and then I'll have Jimmy talk about his tour. Very different tours, obviously. So I took a cultural tour. Pretty much every island has an excursion that does this. We got on a tram basically and drove around the island visiting various historical sites, a straw market, obviously. The picture here of me, that is a shipwreck behind me, gorgeous views. We met a pirate and went into a museum. It was like $65. There was like 12 people on the tour. We had a great time. It wasn't, at the end we were given conch and conch fritters and some local bread. Very nice excursion. And then I went to the beach club. But before we talk about the beach club, I'll have Jimmy come back and talk about snorkeling with sharks. And you went with a large group too, right? Pretty like 12 people or so from the ship.
Actually, I think it was more like 20 people,
Wow.
maybe even 25. It was a pretty packed excursion. I think it was probably almost fully booked because honestly, I don't think there's any place else for anyone else to sit. This is only my second time snorkeling. The first one was in Key West, and then this one was in Nassau. And we did a shipwreck snorkel first. So we went to a shipwreck off the coast of Bimini, and it was now been converted into an artificial reef, which we snorkeled there. And then they took us around the corner over to a shark sanctuary where there were reef sharks and a smaller shark, I don't know, that we snorkeled with. And then they fed the sharks at the end. You would think they'd do that before, but no. They fed the sharks at the end. So we got to see all the sharks sort of eating after we got out of the water.
Yeah, it was great.
It was an awesome experience. I really enjoyed the snorkeling. The reef was really cool. It was very cold that day. And I say very cold, it was like 72 degrees, but very cold for the Bahamas that day. And the water was very cold, which, being from Baltimore, I'm used to cold water. The ocean here is pretty much always that temperature. So, it's not abnormal to me, but it was an issue for some other folks that it was so cold. The only issue I had with that entire excursion is that it's been my experience on other things of that nature, like when I've gone to all inclusives or the last cruise I was on, that the crew of the excursion is very engaging. And they try to make the experience more fun. And this crew was very quiet, sort of like silent the whole trip to the snorkeling. They gave you your overview of how not to die while you were snorkeling, and then they didn't say anything else until we were done. Yeah. That's the only complaint. It's not even really a complaint. It wasn't like it wasn't like the snorkeling was less enjoyable because the crew was, not exciting, but I think it could have been more enjoyable had they been more engaging and gotten people involved, while we were, I mean, the boat ride to the shipwreck was about 25-30 minutes of boat ride of just nothing. It was beautiful scenery, but there was no like engagement happening.
Wow, I did not know that. I had the opposite. I mean, the people on our tour were very engaging, obviously, but that's interesting to know. So, Jimmy, tell me. I guess I'll start. So let's talk about the Virgin Voyages Beach Club, the Bimini Beach Club. Beautiful, gorgeous. But once again, I didn't find it very exciting. I didn't stay very long. And the food there, although excellent or good, not what you'll typically find on a private island or a beach club by other cruise lines. It was more exotic, and which is great. Sometimes you just want a burger. Sometimes you just want ribs or a hot dog. And I thought they could have been served better if they would have had at least one of those type of items. But we had roasted pig, and I can't even think of the things we had, some interesting salads. And the other problem I had, and this is not unusual for these private islands, where the flies were just all over my food the minute I sat down. So I went back to the ship and ate a proper lunch. But gorgeous. And I think, and I'll have you talk, but I think this goes to your point, and you said this then, that this is because the ship was half empty, why it was a bit boring.
Yeah, in fact, this is the moment where I sort of came to that conclusion, was that's one of the problems this boat was having. Virgin, and I don't know if other cruise lines do this or not, frankly, but Virgin specifically had like crew members whose whole job was like hype people. Like their whole job was to like bring the party. So they would like dance and like, get crazy at the parties. And that was their job. Their job was to get other people involved in the parties that were happening. And they were trying their damnedest at that pool to get people excited. And they were not having it. It was not happening. There was no party happening at that pool party other than the people who were paid to party. Most of the people were very relaxed, very loungy. I will tell you, I have never seen a private island anywhere, from Sandals to anywhere else that I've stayed, that had as much seating available as this private island did. There and nice seating. Like typically, there's a ton of like those, cheap resort lounge bed chair things.
Right.
But these were plush couches and plush beach chairs and cabanas and umbrellas and cushion chairs and benches and just an enormous amount of seating available. And it may have only felt enormous because, like we said, we were very low quantity, but I think we could have had a full boat and there still would have been seats left over on that beach.
Absolutely. Yeah, I have nothing to add here, and we're pushing an hour, so let's see what else. So we're here to the final page of this picture essay, and for those listening online, I'm sorry. If you email me, I'd be glad to get you a copy of these pictures. But anyway, so Jimmy, let's talk about. We talked about it, I think, already in Ship 5. I'll talk about my final thoughts, and then I'll let you end it. I had a good time. I had a good time. Did I have the best time I've ever had on a vacation? No. And I think I talked about one main reason, and that's because I don't think I am a person who likes to be programmed. I like to do stuff on vacation. I am not one to sit in a chair and read a book. I brought a book. I read about 7 pages the entire time because I want to do things. And I just felt like I wound up in the casino a lot because there was nothing else for me to do, because there was nothing else that I would like to do personally. But I still had a good time. My other issue, there's only two issues I have, is the communication was lacking greatly. They are reliant on their app, as most places are becoming, but the app didn't tell you enough things. The first time we tried to get off the ship in Nassau, not a clue. They make no announcements. We went up going the wrong place, and this is one time it wasn't friendly service because it's not friendly people down there. We wound up in crew area, and they're like, "Get out of here! You have to go back up and go over." And we found our way out, but there wasn't enough signage. There wasn't enough communication. Even getting off the ship, we got no direction the day before on what's going to happen when came back to Miami, and particularly on this cruise, there should have been, because they were going into their brand new terminal. So I really think that is the other area they need to work on, is communication. But I would recommend this to the right couple, or the right friends that want to go, and they want to do these kinds of things. They like these kinds of activities. They like to drink. They like to exercise. It's a great value. The food alone, you got your money back in food alone on this ship, and the free soft drinks are nice as well, and the liquor very reasonably priced. The other thing is, it's not for the faint-hearted. As I put some signs up here, the Lick Me Till ice cream is the name of their ice cream shop. I Tap That is the name of their beverage stations. So there's lots of cheekiness, risqueness on the ship. It's a good fun. I think most people would like it. I do know certain people who I've sent on cruises would absolutely hate it. They don't even like to go to the adult shows on the big cruise ships because they think that's too much. And that is tame compared to the shows on this ship. I give this a 7 out of 10 overall rating. And like I said, and I do have some discounts for those who might be interested on cruising on this, and some shipboard credits. So my contact information is coming up, and if you'd like to contact me about it.
I'd agree, Brian, but I think I would probably give it an 8 out of 10. And I think that our biggest difference in that is that I do enjoy the more relaxing vacation. I got a facial on the boat. I got an IV rehydration thing on the boat.
Need it for anything, just like to get it.
We didn't even mention the tattoo shop or the spa. You could get Botox on the boat. It was a really fun experience. I'm much more, not that Brian isn't social. Brian's very social. I'm much more of a social outing sort of person. So I enjoyed the nightlife, and I enjoyed meeting new people through that. I told my wife that this is something that her and I have to do together. So, I think that I will return to Virgin Voyages at some point or another. I enjoyed it. I think that as the boat gets more people on it, the vibe will get better. I could not agree with you more about communication. That specifically for our excursions, the communication was really bad. There was no communication on where we were going and how we were getting there to get to our excursion. And my group almost missed ours. Like, they were pushing the boat away from the pier when we finally pulled up to get there, because of the lack of communication.
Yeah, I mean that is the one thing I hope they work for. And look, they're only a year. They would be older if it wasn't for COVID, but they really only have about a year under the belt of doing cruises, and not even that long in the States. So, like I said, I would recommend the ship. I really would, for the right clients. And you and your wife are the right clients. My 72-year-old aunt and uncle, probably not the right client for this ship. So
I would agree.
Here is our contact information for those listening and not watching. I will put this in the show notes. But I'm Brian Peller with Global Memories Travel. There's my email. There is my brand new phone number. I had to change the phone number of the travel agency. If I do not answer that number, please leave a message and I will get back to you. But love to help anybody plan this cruise or any other vacation. We don't charge a fee. And our motto is the perfect vacation at the perfect price. As I told you at the beginning, James is a leading realtor here in the greater Baltimore area. There's his contact information. And again, it'll be in the show notes if you're looking to buy or sell a home, he's your guy. I've never seen anybody, even on the ship, he was working it and working on deals and working on getting people qualified, all kinds of stuff. So he will work, 365, 24/7 for you. So that's my
I
commercial.
did negotiate inspection results from the boat next to the sharks while we were snorkeling.
All right, Jimmy. Well, thank you very much for joining me. And those of you listening and not watching, stay tuned. I'll be right back with some more information.